Narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, an American slave written by himself. Chapter 14. Shipyard hired me out to Mr. William Gardner, a shipbuilder on Fells Point. I was put there to learn how to caulk, in other words, to seal up the seams between the ship's timbers. However, it proved a very bad time and place for me to learn this trade. Gardner was engaged that spring in building 2 large man-of-war brigs for the Mexican government. The vessels were to be launched in July of that year. If he missed that deadline, Gardner would lose a considerable sum of money, and so when I arrived, all was hurry. There was no time to learn anything. Every man had to do that which he knew how to do. When I entered the shipyard, my orders from Gardner were to do whatever the carpenters commanded. This meant I was at the beck and call of about 75 men. They were all my masters. Their word was to be my law. My situation was most difficult. At times I needed a dozen pair of hands. 3 or 4 voices would strike my ear at the same moment. It was, "Fred, come help me here. Fred, come carry this timber yonder. Fred, bring that roller here. Fred, go get a fresh can of water. Fred, come and help saw off the end of this timber. Fred, go quick and get a crowbar. Fred, go to the blacksmith shop and get a new punch. Hurry, Fred, run and bring me a cold chisel. Hey, nigga, come, turn this grindstone. Blast you. Darky, why don't you heat up some pitch? Come here. Go there. Hold on where you are. Damn you, if you move, I'll knock your brains out." Gardner's Shipyard was my school for 8 months. I might have remained there longer except for a terrible fight I had with 4 of the white apprentices, in which my left eye was nearly knocked out. This was how it happened. Until soon after I went there, white and black ship carpenters worked side by side, and no one seemed to have any problem with that. Many of the black carpenters were freemen. Things seemed to be going on very well. But all at once, the white carpenters laid down their tools and said they would not work with free colored workmen. Their reason, they said, was that if free colored carpenters were encouraged, they would soon take the trade into their own hands and poor white men would be thrown out of employment. Taking advantage of Gardner's need for fast progress, they broke off, swearing they would work no longer unless he fires the black carpenters. Now, though I was not a free carpenter, the white carpenters' talk did have its effects on me. My fellow apprentices began to feel it was degrading to work with me. They began to put on airs, talk about the niggas taking over the country, and said we all ought to be killed. Encouraged by the carpenters, they made my condition as hard as they could, tormenting me constantly and sometimes striking me. I, of course, kept the vow I made after the fight with Covey and struck back regardless of the consequences. As long as I could fight them separately, I did very well, for I could whoop any of them. However, they eventually joined forces and came upon me armed with sticks, stones, and heavy hand spikes. One came in front with a half brick. There was one at each side of me and one behind me. The one behind me ran up with a spike and struck me a heavy blow upon the head. It stunned me. I fell, and they were all on me at once, beating me with their fists. I gathered my strength and rose to my hands and knees. But just then, one of them wearing heavy boots gave me a powerful kick to the left eye. My eyeball seemed to have burst. When they saw my eye closed and badly swollen, they left me. I seized the handspike and ran after them, but here the carpenters interfered, and I thought I might as well give it up. It was impossible to fight against so many. All of this took place in sight of no less than 50 white ship carpenters, and not one tried to help. In fact, some cried, "Kill the damn nigga! Kill him! Kill him! He struck a white person!" My only chance for life was in running. I managed to get away without further injury, but barely so. For to strike a white man is to invite death by lynching. That was the law in Gardner's Shipyard, and in many places outside of Gardner's Shipyard. I went directly home and told Shipyard what had happened. He was far more sympathetic than his brother Thomas had been under similar circumstances. He listened carefully and expressed indignation. Enraged, he cursed those who had done the deed. My puffy eye and blood-covered face moved Sophia all to tears. She sat down next to me, washed the blood from my face, and with a mother's tenderness bound my head, covering the wounded eye with a piece of fresh lean beef. Seeing her return to her old kind, affectionate ways almost made up for my suffering. As soon as I recovered a bit, Hugh took me to a lawyer named Watson to see what could be done. Watson asked who had witnessed the assault. Hugh told him that it had occurred in Gardner's Shipyard at midday, while many men were present. Watson said that he couldn't do anything unless some white man came forward and testified. My word was nothing. If I had been killed in the presence of 1,000 blacks, their combined testimony would not have prompted the arrest of even one of the murderers. Of course, it was impossible to get any white to testify on my behalf against other whites. Even those who may have sympathized with me wouldn't do this. It required more courage than they possessed. At that time, the slightest show of humanity toward a black was condemned as abolitionism, and that was a dangerous word. Bloody-minded people were fond of saying, "Damn the abolitionists and damn the niggers." Nothing was done about the assault. Such was and such remains the state of things in the Christian city of Baltimore. Finding that he could get no satisfaction, Hugh refused to let me return to Gardner Shipyard. He kept me himself, and his wife cared for my wound until it healed. Hugh then took me to Walter Price's shipyard, where he was foreman. There I was taught to caulk. Within 1 year of my leaving Gardner's, I was able to earn wages equal to those of the most experienced caulkers. I sought my own jobs, made my own contracts, and collected the money that I earned, about $7 a week, sometimes as much as $9. The money was paid to me and rightfully was mine. Yet, each Saturday night, I handed over my earnings to Hugh. Why? Because he could force me to. Even so, my life was much smoother and more comfortable than before. When I couldn't get caulking work, I did nothing. During my leisure time, old thoughts of freedom stole over me. While under Gardner's employment, I had been under such constant pressure that I had thought of almost nothing but my survival. I almost had forgotten about liberty. I have observed this about my slavery. Improved conditions increased rather than lessened my desire to be free. To make slaves content, it is necessary to make them believe that slavery is right. This can be done only by preventing them from thinking